Trudeau's new senator isn't making any friends in Ottawa, even amongst his fellow Liberals. Charles Adler, the former so-called conservative broadcaster, was named the next senator for Manitoba in August by Trudeau, and he was sworn into his role September 17th. But as you know, Adler's a sellout, and even his Liberal friends know it. If you feel the same way, go to senatorsellout.com. Now, for those of you who don't know, Charles Adler was once very critical of the Senate and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, yet he now occupies a Senate seat he once scorned. His recent pro-Trudeau conversion is a move to secure a cushy retirement. Adler's transformation is evident. In a recent CBC interview, he praised the state broadcaster he once called for the defunding of. He once labeled it a place for whores and harlots.
Terry's major problem is not what he says. It's the platform. It's carried by the CBC. The people who run the CBC don't like him, can't stand him, love the people who criticize him, but they can't get rid of him because he's too popular. He makes them too much money. And it makes, I have some sympathy for the CBC executives. They feel like whores. They don't believe in what they're doing, but they're dropping their drawers anyway. They're down around their ankles. And who wants to feel like a harlot?
Now he bitterly derides those who criticize the CBC. Adler's harsh condemnation of the Freedom Convoy was another audition for his $1 million payday when he branded the single largest human rights demonstration of modern Canadian history an AstroTurf protest, which aimed to disable democracy to boost white supremacy, despite, of course, the convoy's leadership by a Métis grandmother named Tamara Leach. Meanwhile, Adler remained silent about his own secret application for a Senate position, keeping it from his listeners. He also supported and continues to support Trudeau's online censorship legislation, failing, of course, to disclose his potential Senate involvement in rubber stamping such laws to his listeners as well. Adler's disdain for the unvaccinated is also clear, flaunting his vaccination status like some bearded Rachel Gilmore while shaming those who resisted. Now, the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs recently urged the Governor General and the Prime Minister to revoke Adler's appointment due to his derogatory remarks about Indigenous people. Canadians frustrated by Adler's hypocrisy are calling for his resignation. Adler, on air, called First Nations people corrupt, lazy, uncivilized people who, quote, often get a ride that's free and then complain the ride isn't rich enough, end quote. Northern Affairs Minister Dan Vandal, Manitoba's senior government MP, offered his comments on the day old Senator Uncle Chuck's appointment hit the news. There are many eminently qualified Manitobans who are better suited to represent our province than Charles Adler, Vandal said bluntly at the time. I agree, and if you do too, sign the petition at senatorsellout.com. So, let's do the math. Manitobans, Indigenous leaders, ordinary Canadians writ large, and the one Manitoba Liberal in the cabinet all did not want to see Adler in the Senate. Has that changed now that old Senator Sellout is pulling his first few paychecks from the upper chamber of the House of Commons, that barn he once so loathed? Has Senator Adler changed the hearts and minds of his new Liberal peers as quickly as he's changed his own once $178,000 plus expenses per year for life was served up to him on a taxpayer-funded silver platter? The answer, of course, is no. Take a listen to this exchange between Conservative MP Bob Zimmer and the aforementioned Dan Vandal, Trudeau's Indigenous and Northern Affairs Minister.
Seeing the public dissatisfaction with the Prime Minister, have you lost confidence in the Prime Minister?
To answer your question, no. I support the Prime Minister 110% to continue to lead the party in the country. I support the Liberal Party 110% to continue to be the governing party. On your reference to Charles Adler, I'll let my statement stand. I stand by it today. I think the whole issue of senatorial appointments are tricky. I will go back 10 years where we heard the name Patrick Duffy,
Minister,
Patrick
you've answered the question.
Pamela Wallin, who were all appointed by your government.
He's answered the question, Chair. Can I ask the next question?
finishing his answer to the
But
question.
he did already. He answered the question.
We've
He already
appointed
said
an
about the Senate that stands.
independent committee to make
Can I have my
an
time?
independent
Chair,
committee
you said it-
to make
you said at the beginning of
recommendations
the meeting,
on
You know, I'm going to say it. I agree with Liberal Minister Dan Vandal on a few things. Charles Adler should not be in the Senate. I think Adler is a shameless, opportunistic fraud. I also agree with Vandal that Trudeau is definitely, most definitely, the right man to lead the Liberal Party. The longer Trudeau stays on, the better the Conservative chances are of relegating Trudeau and his party of sycophants enriching themselves on the suffering of Canadians into the garbage can of history. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. If you agree with me that the new Senator for Manitoba, Charles Adler, is nothing more than an insincere, shameless hypocrite, please sign the petition at senatorsellout.com.